Hello and welcome everyone to the weekly Delphian meeting. Thank you for tuning in. Apologies for changing the time. We had a conflict that we couldn't change, so we had to push this back. Thank you for flexing with that. Next week we'll be back to our normal 1 p.m. meeting on Wednesday. So agenda today, I'll do a market update. Not much to do with earnings yet. A few trades starting to trickle out, but those are unconfirmed as of right now. And Joe will go through some analysis. So let's get started. Let's listen to the Fed. Seems like my takeaway is higher for longer. I'll just kind of jump there real quick. We talked about a bunch of cuts next year. I bet that'll change. They'll start moving higher. Not as many cuts, but that was my take on it. So, anyone else have a different take on that?
I agree, Josh.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think we might see a rate hike in the November meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like they're data dependent. Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, okay. So market overview. NASDAQ, SPX still hanging into one by a thread. Russell did transition to state 4 recently. Pretty crazy. Pie wise, pretty much the exact same where we were last week. With green pie 32.3, 32, call it 0.2. So pretty
On the Fed,
uneventful.
everybody was waiting on the Fed.
Yeah, I agree. I think place your kind of posturing before the Fed, and we'll go in the charts, but the Russell is below the 200, so and SPX is right on the 50-day, so where they go from here, we'll have to see. So I think it was Market Pulse. This is the pie. So pretty much just flat here. We're not oversold. We're not below 30. So once we get below 30, then obviously, that's usually a trigger. But we're just hanging right above it. So let's look at the states. I think are a little more telling. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So eights have been this gingerly climbing here. The ones that dropped a little. The things we look for are, like the twos obviously haven't done much, but the fours have kind of been on same kind of little glide path here going a little bit higher. So that's just a little warning. Some of the eights have gone to 7, but some of those twos have gone to 4. So, you know, not very, I mean, there's nothing really saying, which way we're going right now. And I think the biggest thing, will be the support levels in the charts, but obviously, the green, the pie is almost oversold. So that's somewhat of an indication, but nothing, I don't see anything really telling me definitely where things are going right now. So SPX state 1, hit the stop loss, jumped off that pretty good. You can see the low was 44.16, ended up 44.43 as of yesterday. So interesting number. That's right at the 50-day. So 50 days, providing support. So I think that's really what we want to, keep our eye on. And I think today we're, a little below that. So really, I think, these levels down here, is where a bounce can happen. And we've seen it quite a few times where we get a strong bounce. If we don't see the strong bounce, then obviously we're going to get the two. But typically we'll get like a bounce like this, and then, like another day kind of stronger. And, it kind of builds up and then obviously gets into a little bit of resistance here. So, the first level of resistance here is 4,500 area. And, just based off of where we are, we'll go to the chart here. This level, the 50-day, so that's 44.45. So that's going to be, flip-flopping. It's been fighting back and forth, showed good support right in here, not much of a bounce off of it. So now I think we're right below that, and just, we got to watch this level. If this thing breaks, obviously we can get down to that 200. But as far as big range here, 46 is the top. Haven't seen that. Haven't got close to that in a while. Bottom 42. So we're almost, like in the middle of there. But I mean, the key is, this staying, getting above that, staying above that. Then we can, make a run. But, right now we're a little below. So, Russell and state 4, obviously not what you look for in the 1, 2, 1, 2. We had a 1, 2, and now we're back in 4. So, typically we get down here, find support, and turn around and hit, midway between target 2 and 3. So, this is kind of key level, entry price 1833. And, you're going to get these levels down here. Obviously 1700 is critical. That's the bottom of the range. 19 is the top up here. And, I think if we look at the chart right here at 200, let me pull it in a little. At 200 is 1845. So we're below that right now. I think the more days we're below that, the bigger kind of flash warning we get. So 1845, that's above the entry here. So we stay, the entry is going to be, I think we're right on it. That can be support or resistance depending where we're at. And then, down here it's going to be support. And then, your critical support, obviously down here, 1729, and the big one's 1700. 18, I think, could be a little support too. I mean, I was looking at the chart and I'll kind of pull it up. If we go back, we look at our 3 peaks here. Our lower highs. We can look at, if I just do we know 19's very critical. If you look at the 18, there's quite a bit of action going on there. Support and resistance, and obviously 17's the bottom. But, I still think, like we had 18 after, a big drop here, provided support, got up to 19, then turned over, and, once it broke, went straight down. A lot of action in here, support in here, resistance in here. So I think 18 is something else we want to, keep an eye on. As, the critical level, as it, stays in between this 19 and 17 range. So if it does break 18, it could end up, getting, like we said, the other two, meandered around for a while, kind of retested 19, failed, and then, eventually broke through 18. And that was just kind of directly down. Like once it broke that 18 here, 1, and then 2, just went almost pretty much straight down, from that peak. So, think, getting above that 200 and, holding above 18, this is going to be, a level to watch that I think will be important. And you can see, the 50 days trending down. So I think, this one's a little more bearish, obviously, than SPX. And, that's been the case. This has been a problem area, for the market overall. No breadth going on, just head fakes, and then come back to normal. So we've been in this channel for quite a while, well over a year, with a few breakouts up and down, but here's the range, and we're kind of near the top end of it. That's kind of where we're at. So
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
I think going back in time, that Delphian thesis used to be look at RUT first. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, typically it'll lead, typically.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
And
NASDAQ, but
right.
yeah.
And I mean, it hasn't been a leader for a while. I'm just wondering, if that's just the typical gyrations of change in leadership of the market, or, if you think this thing, may be forecasting, a down leg in the market here, given that it's, been the weakest index of the big three for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it stays, holds below that 200, then I think, with the possibility of a swoop down, if it gets past 18, I could see a quick swoop to the bottom of the range, where you usually find support. But yeah, it's been weak. But I mean, this is more of the breadth of the market, where SPX is, that can be held up by Apple alone almost, and some of the
Yeah.
bigger names. This one is just pure breadth,
It is. I kind of think, yeah, it's that relationship in terms of leadership. I won't say, it's kind of almost third in line for me at this point now, because it's just kind of, like you said, you got those three peaks. It's kind of failed, but it's just trading in this range. And yeah, I don't know what the catalyst will be to get it out, but
I don't know either. I was a little hopeful once they all hit one, and then that was just a
yes,
non-starter.
right.
Okay, let's go through some quick stuff here. Fed obviously didn't raise rates. I don't think there's much change. We'll have to see tomorrow. I think it'll end up trending a little more, kind of almost like 50-50 for a hike in within the next, two meetings. So, but that's a ways off. We got November 1st, so over a month away. And it'll be interesting to see how these things start adjusting, based off of what the Fed said today. I don't know how real time these are. So I just monitor that. I would expect these, to start shifting a little higher, like we saw before, with people expecting, cuts by the end of this year, and then they all started shifting up, so I would expect something similar, but I think they're still expecting cuts next year, but I think it'll be more tempered than, what we saw. And it looks like it's moving a little here, like a month ago. That's pretty much 1%. And then, it's moving up a little bit here. So that's kind of what I would expect. Balance sheet, not much here, just a slight runoff, but they're continuing runoff. So, unless we get some kind of credit event, where they'll inject. But yeah, it's just a nice, steady sell off of assets, which, is bearish. And rates, I was looking at rates, not much happened really, after this meeting. So nothing really going on there. So I think that was it. I didn't have any cool pictures or graphics, so let's open it up to questions, comments.
I think that Russell's leading. NASDAQ is about to follow.
I think NASDAQ's coming down. Yeah, I think Apple's been having a little bit of a rough time. You know, it's like news about some radiation and China's like pulling them. So that could be help the market lower if Apple starts driving things down. We got, earnings will start pick up here and I think we'll have to see how those things go.
Yeah, the futures on Russell, NASDAQ, and the S&P have really dropped since the Fed announcement.
Mm. Yeah, they were
Would you say, Sudhir?
pretty good there.
I couldn't hear Sudhir. What did you say? What has really dropped?
The future
yeah.
Okay.
for the like the micro S&P, the micro Russell, and the micro NASDAQ, those have accelerated downward since the Fed announced. The futures on the Dow, and we're talking just the last hour or so, that are holding steady. So the Russell's leading the downward charge. I think the NASDAQ and the S&P might be joining the trend here soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's right on the stops, it holds through there. Obviously it's gone in the state too for the most part, but yeah, I just think, kind of watching those levels and, this is like a warning sign here, staying below that 200. I think 18 is the next stop and that could be brief. If it blows to that, it's going to 17. So, yeah, thanks, Adir. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Oh, just real quick on the earnings, the last 4 trades closed out, so those are finalized. We had 4 open trades with the bearish runners. One of them was a loser, and 3 of them ended up winning. So this is all closed out. I'll upload it to the share drive since it's finalized here. But those just closed out. So bearish did well, 186. So. Okay, anything else for me before Joe takes over?
Interesting, Josh. Just with those trades that the bearish runners were the largest number of trades.
No, it's definitely been a shift in the markets from like how long have we been trading these? Like it was, it used to be a ton. Like we used to not even get bearish pre-runners, or sometimes not even bearish runners, and we'd have like 40 bullish pre-runners. And now it's just the market environment. It's nice to see that it adapts. Otherwise, we'd be getting killed. Yeah. All right, I'll hand over to you, Jim.
All right, Josh, got just a couple charts here, and I frankly would be surprised if Russell is going to be the leader in the market here. I mean, I know it's from a state perspective, it rolled into 2 here. I think we're in a trading range. Period. I think we do need a catalyst. I think that government financing situation, I think, is a week from Saturday. I think that's September 30th. There's going to be all kinds of political BS between now and then. If that doesn't, move the markets, then I think, we're going to have to wait till the next earnings cycle. And in the meantime, it's just kind of back and fill. So that's kind of my take on where we are with the markets. Just running through, a few of the charts. Here is, XPX. And so I go back to, you're talking about those moving averages, agree with those numbers. To me, that August 18th low in all the indexes is critically important. And, we're still 100 points above that August 18th low in SPX. We are about 550 points above it in NASDAQ. Both of them are still in state one. Russell obviously has been the laggard. So, is that going to be actually the catalyst to take us lower? Time will tell. I think, your 1700, 1900, makes a lot of sense. I just find it hard to believe that Russell is going to be the leader here, but time will tell. It has been 2 and now 4, so it has been, more bearish than the other 2, and that's kind of been the case for a while. In terms of our sector overview, not a whole lot of change in the last week. We went a touch more bearish. Last week we had 5 bullish, sectors. This week we have 4. XLK is the sector that rolled into bear state, into state 2. Let me see, where's that? Here we are, XLK. But again, XLK to me, it's trading range. We're basically 160 to 180, and we're kind of just going sideways. So if we start to, this government financing, that could be a downward catalyst, certainly, if we shut down. And I think it was USADIR, going back a number of months ago when we were talking extremes in terms of states. And, I guess it took a little homework first of all, figure out what 2011, why that was such an extreme state to the downside. And, that was when, the government shut down, back in 2011. I think we had a small shutdown in 2019, but the extreme was in 2011.
Yeah, I was reading an article. There's been about a dozen small shutdowns, like a couple days.
Oh.
But the big one that lasted for weeks was 2011.
Yeah, and that certainly that drove the market, way down. So, we'll see what the next week and a half brings there. But XLK, again, to me, the August 18th lows in individual stocks and some of these ETFs and indexes, that's what I'm looking at. I do want to just bring up oil here because we know what a run. That's just an extraordinary run. And then lo and behold, look at target 3, which there you go, Josh. It shook in his numbers. It'd be interesting to see whether we got to target 3 on a just kind of ridiculous run up, and it'll be interesting to see if now maybe that is going to be a tailwind for the markets if this starts to back and fill a little bit. Hard to say. TLT, I just wanted to pull it up. We all know what's happening. We're close to the recent highs in the 10-year around 434, 435, and obviously that's reflected in TLT. Adobe was one we talked about over the last couple of weeks, and I think this is kind of signifies the market a little bit. The earnings came out, it gapped down after a big run up. You had obviously multiple expansion, but over the last couple of days, new money's flowed back into this thing. So, is yesterday's low in the 522 range, going to hold? Hard to say, but I think this is sort of indicative of the markets. You get a pullback, and then you get fresh money into these things, and more than anything, maybe it's just a multiple contraction, as multiples got ahead, and that's where I think that catalyst most likely for the next big move in the market is going to be earnings. And obviously, we're still a few weeks away, but we've had multiple expansion, generally speaking, certainly in the leadership. And, we know we've been talking about it for, weeks and weeks. third and fourth quarter is where earnings are supposed to start to grow again, especially that fourth quarter. So those forward look conferences, I think are going to be a catalyst one way or the other. Josh, you talked about the earnings plan. I think what do we have? Maybe is it 70 trades, Josh? It's not 47, but as Josh said, those first two trades, one tomorrow, one on Friday, are estimated trades, PLD and XP. So I just thought I'd pull up those charts. It'll be full put spreads. I'm guessing in this one, it'd be the 120 put, 120, 115 put spread. I mean, I wouldn't put that, as a bullish pre-runner. I'm okay, putting on that 120, 115 put spread. But, for an earnings play itself, I'm not going short that 120 put, depending on earnings. So, but as a pre-runner, I'd be okay with that trade, just making sure I close it out in advance of the earnings date. And kind of the same thing in American Express, which is supposed to happen Friday. Be interesting to see what strike prices American Express. What do we got? We got 159. I mean, I'm not selling the one. Certainly, I wouldn't sell the 160 puts, the 160 put strike at this point. I'd be lower than that. And again, just as a pre-runner, I wouldn't want anything to do with these two for the earnings itself. That's just me personally. So, Sudhir, I know you trade a lot of these. I'm not sure how many of the estimated versus confirmed you get involved with. I know that sometimes
I don't do any of that.
Okay. I know that, and sometimes you adjust your strikes. So, that's how I'd be looking at these things as well. So maybe the charts I want to talk about, I think we're trading range, in terms of numbers between now and next Wednesday. We got a bunch of home sale stuff tomorrow, and obviously it's Thursday, so we get jobless claims. There's PMI flash on Friday, nothing on Monday. Tuesday, more housing numbers, and then I think it's really towards the end of next week where we get into some of the PCE numbers again, personal consumption expenditure stuff that the Fed tends to keep an eye on. So it's relatively quiet week, from a numbers perspective, but I think the headlines of government financing is probably going to lead the day before we get into earnings a couple weeks out. Happy to take any comments or questions. Otherwise, and we are, continuing. I think Josh maybe mentioned last week. We've, been involved with, some other stuff behind the scenes, just in terms of customer development. So we'll be back to, the new UI starting tomorrow in earnest. We're hopeful that sometime in the next month, hopefully we can launch this thing. But we'll keep you abreast of. A month may be a little aggressive, maybe it's sometime in the next month or two, but hoping to get this new UI out to everybody before too long.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. When are those student payments starting? Is that this month or is that next month?
That is this month. I don't know exactly when, but yeah, it's definitely this month.
Yeah.
I think it's the end of the month. I think interest, if I remember correctly what I read, interest started September 1st and first payments are due October 1st or September 30th. So.
Mm-hmm. Could be a headwind for quite a few people with the current state of groceries. So. All right, anyone else got questions, comments? All right, we'll close it up. Thank you guys for attending. We'll go back to normal time next week. So thank you for flexing and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the flexibility. Bye-bye.